Hello everyone and welcome to the Spring Bunnies creative project. This is one of the main creative projects of the class, and part of a creative project is I make a tutorial to help you make something, and then you build a scene around it, and then you also add 3 props and light it and then render it and then turn it in. Today we are going to be making this little bunny character here. This bunny is based around this ceramic bunny my mom had around the house to decorate for spring, so I thought what better way to celebrate spring than by making a bunny. Here, as you can see, if I close out this scene, I made this cool little bunny and then I put it in like this flower field because I was just like, oh, this just feels like spring. It just, look at the bunny feels really big if we look at from a low angle. This is actually just a bunch of flower models spread across a plane as well as some grass. And I'm trying to play around with this a little bit. I might make a version of this that has like fireflies and stuff. I'm playing around with the lighting. Right now, this background is lighting it, and I have a little bit of mist. You see the little white mist there? Anyways, let's dive right into making our bunny. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to bring in some reference images of the bunny. This will help us model our bunny to get the proportions and the shapes right. It's really important when you model something to bring up image reference, and hopefully you can use that image reference to help get that shape of the of whatever the heck you're modeling correct. First things first, we're going to bring in the front view of our bunny. So I'm going to go into view, viewpoint, and we're going to go to the front. So now we're looking at things from the front. I'm now going to go to add, image, reference. And now this is a reference image we're going to bring in. I'm going to bring in the front view of our bunny. So I'm going to bring in this image right here. I'm going to hit load reference image. And as you can tell, it's rotated. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So I'm going to want to rotate this on the y-axis, which is that little green line. So I'm going to go like R, Y, then 90. So I'm hitting R for rotate, Y for the y-axis, and 90 for 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to align it so maybe if that that red line is the ground, that our bunny is standing on the ground like so. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the side view. We're going to start by doing it from this side, which is the left. This side's the left side. This would be the right side of our character. So I'm going to go to view, viewpoint, right. And we're going to go to add, reference image, reference, and then we're going to bring in the side image. So we're going to hit load reference image. And then I'm going to do the same thing, RX negative 90, and we'll get this standing upright. So let's see here. Okay, cool. You can see my images aren't quite to scale, so we're going to scale one of them up. We're going to try to get them matched up. So let's see, right about there. So you can see now we have these reference images. It's a little disorienting, but that's okay. We are going to be using these reference images to help model our bunny. First things first, I'm going to want to go into, here, I'm going to minimize that, into this red tab right here. This is how to control a reference image. So let's make it a little bit transparent. So I'm going to go to the object data properties, which is right here. I'm going to set the depth to front, and then I'm also going to set the opacity to like half, or like maybe 0.3. Then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. This just makes it a little bit transparent. We're going to be using this to help us model our bunny. So I'm going to set that to 0.3. We're also going to label this. I'm going to put it into a folder. So I'm going to click this new folder button up here. And I'm going to name this reference images. And then I'm going to put that in my tutorial file. And then I'm going to put those images in. I'm holding shift to select multiple things at once. And that gets them into this folder. If we ever want them to go away, we can just check this box. Check, 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 check. That concludes getting reference images into our scene. Okay, so there's some things in Blender called add-ons, and add-ons are like extra secret tools that you can use to help you out. So I'm gonna add on a few more add-ons, to help us out make our bunnies. Okay, so we're gonna go to Edit, Preferences, I'm going to Add-ons, and we are gonna be looking for the plugin called Extra Objects, Add Mesh Extra Objects. We're gonna make sure this is checked. So we're gonna check it. And then it's good. Another add-on we're also going to enable, we might use it, we might not, but it's called Loop Tools. So search bar, type in loop, and you're going to look for Mesh Loop Tools. This will help us out with geometry. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go to Input and make sure Emulate 3-button mouse is selected. So we're going to make sure this is checked. And then we're all ready. Okay, let's model our bunny. First things first, I'm just gonna uncheck this little mouse button here. This will make it so we can't click on our reference planes. This will help us from getting too annoyed. Let's start modeling our bunny. We're gonna go to Add Mesh, and that add-on gets us some new objects. We're gonna be bringing in a round cube. So right now it brings you in this round cube. Before you click anywhere, change the radius to 1. This turns our sphere, this turns our cube into a rounded sphere, which is actually gonna be really nice. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add what's called a modifier onto this rounded cube to make it a little bit smoother. You see how it's kind of jaggedy? Well, we're going to smooth it out. We're gonna go to this little wrench icon. We're gonna go to Add Modifier. It's called Subdivision Surface. Immediately you're gonna see that smooths everything out. We're gonna change the levels viewport to 2. And then we're going to right click on it and we're going to hit Shade Smooth. It smooths out the sphere. But if we go into edit mode, we'll still realize it's low poly. Hold on a minute. What the heck is low poly? I'm glad you asked. Well, low poly simply refers to something that has a low amount of polygons. So if we go into edit mode, we can see all of these are polygons. They're just faces. They're, little squares we can click on. Low poly simply means a low amount of polygons. So the opposite of low poly is high poly. Let me show you what high poly looks like. If I were to hit A, which selects all or everything, and if I were to right click and I were to hit subdivide, notice how it divides these into 4. Well, what if I did that a bunch more times? Like, let's do it like 10 times. This is high poly. Look at how many things we have to click. Typically, when we're modeling something, we try to stay as low poly as possible because, oh my gosh, imagine having to okay, I'm just gonna move this corner, but I have to select all these different things. You're going to be spending 45 years of your life just clicking on things. So we try to keep things as low poly as possible. Low poly, as in low amount of polygons. So the great thing about this, with this little approach of using this modifier to basically make things smoothed out, is that we have less things that we have to click on. If we pull our mesh up like this, it will cleanly deform it like clay. Okay, so now comes the time to shape our bunny. We're actually going to be using a mode called Sculpt mode to basically shape our digital mesh like clay to get it to match the proportions of our bunny. So let's just dive right in. Let's go ahead and dive into Sculpt mode. What we're going to do is we are going to go click on the object we're going to be sculpting. We're going to go to instead of edit mode, we're going to go into Sculpt mode. Okay, so Sculpt mode works like this. We have our mesh, and then on the left here, we have all these different ways to sculpt our mesh. For example, let's try blob. If I just, mouse over and click on my mesh, it will blob up. And it'll create interesting shapes. This is to kind of mirror sculpting in real life. We can change, if we right click, we can change the radius of our brush. We can also change the strength of our brush, so then it blobs a little bit less. We can change the radius to be a little bit smaller, make it bigger. We can also set it to be negative value, which will, in this case of the blob, it puffs it up and makes it blobby. But if I do negative, it will kind of imprint it. So look at that. So negative does the opposite. Positive increases the blobbiness. For this project, you're going to be using a mix of the blob, the smooth tool, and then the elastic deform. Elastic deform will be really great. Okay, so let's click on our object and let's go into sculpt mode. So we're going to be using what's called the elastic deform brush. It's way at the bottom. We are also going to be turning on this setting up here. It's called a mirror setting. So this will make it so whatever we do to this side of the object, it'll also do it to the other side. This will be really important just to save us some time. Because see, watch, if I pull these out, see, they both get pulled out in different directions. Let's start shaping this bunny into place. So we're going to start with the top here. I'm going to turn down my radius and strength, and I'm just going to kind of pull these faces up. We're trying to pull it to the neck of the bunny here. And just kind of pulling these up. Pulling these up, making the belly. I'm going to flatten this out. And we're just trying to get this to line up with our object here. I'm just going to keep shaping this into place here. So I'm just going to kind of shape this into place. I'm pulling out the tail, just kind of starting to pull out the tail a little bit. And this is how we get our shape. We need to pull back in the back, but then we need to widen it at the top. And I'm just trying to get this into shape. Okay, now we're gonna do it from the front view. We can see, okay, this needs to, we're gonna maybe center this. I'm gonna go back to object mode and just take my front ortho and just kind of get it centered a little bit.
I'm gonna go back into sculpt mode, and we need to bring out these hips because the rabbit's got some like big jumping legs on it. So I'm just gonna bring these in and bring the arms area out. And we're just gonna keep on massaging this until we get this all kind of in some type of shape.
And if our shape is getting a little odd, let's bring in the smooth tool, smooth brush. A smooth brush just kind of smooths everything out. I'm gonna turn up the radius and really start smoothing this out. Maybe turn up the strength. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's turn down the strength a little bit. Just smoothing things out a little bit because we want it to feel like a round and happy bunny. If you ever want to preview your mesh, you can always click on this show overlays button and it will show you what your mesh is looking like. Turn it back on to see your reference images. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm using the elastic deform brush to kind of grab and pull parts of the mesh into the shape of my object. And if I'm having trouble with that, I usually use the smooth brush to smooth things out. And then I use the inflate brush to inflate parts of it and then pull them out with the elastic deform. You're kind of switching between all three until you get the basic shape of the body. Notice how I'm switching between the front, side, and perspective views to kind of get a glimpse and see, okay, is my bunny shaping up correctly? I do this until I get the shape of the body correct.